Welcome back to the Grow Like a Mother podcast. I'm your host, Jill Wright, of course, time management expert, podcaster, speaker, author, all things time management. And today I am really excited on the Grow Like a Mother podcast to bring you a guest who is talking about things that are supporting us in the home. Hannah Morgan is my guest today, and Hannah is an entrepreneur, project manager, a mom of three, and she knows firsthand, like many of us do, just how busy life can get, right? She is the founder of a company called Heron House Management, which is the first ever virtual house management service designed to help working parents like us set up systems, create a more balanced division of labor with their partners, and outsource the mental load so that you can actually enjoy your life instead of just managing things. Hannah is all about helping families find more time, less stress, and a little bit more breathing room. She is living in St. Petersburg, Florida, and today she is here to share some game-changing insights on how to lighten the load at home. I'm so excited to welcome you. Welcome, 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 Hannah, to the show.
Thank you for having me, Jill. Thrilled to be here.
Yeah, I love what you do. I think it is such an innovative concept that I like we said, it's the first ever. I haven't heard about it anywhere else, and I'd love to know sort of um, what inspired you to get into creating this service for moms and where your zone of genius lies within this whole idea of what you're building.
Yeah. Well, like any good business, it's born out of your own experience, right? Identifying the problem through your lived experience. I became a mom in March 2020, April 2020, so right after the pandemic lockdown. And that was definitely formative to my experience going into the parenting journey. And I just saw and felt that there was a huge increase in the amount of administrative tasks and just weight on my mental headspace that came along with parenting beyond the actual parenting part, like all the paperwork and signing up for daycare and getting the birth certificate and filing claims with insurance, like all those kinds of things. And I found that I had the ability to do it because of my background as a project manager, but I did not have the desire to do it because I wanted to spend more time with my son and I wanted to be a present parent and not feel like I was always trying to manage this never-ending to-do list after, being done with work or staying up late past his bedtime on the couch working on, whatever administrative projects needed to be done. And that's on top of all of the adulting things, planning vacations and doctor's visits and meal planning. And then if you become a homeowner, like all the tasks that come along with that. So in 2023, I started talking with other parents who were having the same experience. And I went about to find a solution. And what I found was out there were virtual assistant companies that were really targeted at being able to receive tasks. And the main pain point was that the people who were delegating the tasks felt like they had another team member to manage, and it wasn't actually a load relief for their mental load. And so I thought, what if I could take my background and my experience as a project manager and apply it to people's personal lives and provide a totally different service that is geared towards truly relieving mental load by providing a project manager for your personal life. So that's where we came up with virtual house management, because a house manager traditionally is an on-site role for, very wealthy people who have complex lives and estates, and they need somebody who can be the director of all the things happening. So what I wanted was to bring that level of concierge service virtually to make it accessible to more families, because when it's virtual, we're able to serve anybody across the country. We even have some clients overseas, and we can also keep it affordable so that people can knit us into the daily fabric of their life without feeling like they have to set aside an entire annual salary for somebody to be able to do all the things in their home. Maybe you just need some help instead of all the help. So that's kind of how this started. Definitely feel like my zone of genius is the project management piece, because that's my professional background. And I found that applying that to this principle has made all the difference. And that's what sets us apart from every other service that's trying to support families. So we really consider ourselves in a project management role that is owning the success of the project rather than receiving tasks to be completed and then putting it back on our clients if, we hit a wall or whatever. So instead of saying, hey, I'm going on vacation, can you book this car this date to this date? It's not really that much help, because you kind of have to think about what car rental company to use. Maybe you have points with them, what the dates are, what type of car you like. Instead, you could ask your house manager to help you plan the entire vacation. Or better yet, our house manager comes to you and says, I'm looking at your calendar and we've got this one perfect week where all the children are out of school, we don't have summer camp, and you've got a week of vacation that you can use. Let's plan a trip. You've been talking about wanting to go out and see your sister in California. I found flights, they're these dates, we can book a car, here's some activities, let's go. So that's kind of the difference in how we implement our services. And the relief that we hear from our clients is immediate. Literally, in our first onboarding call, to feel like you have a true thought partner can provide all of the relief in the world to know you're not alone trying to slug through these tasks and projects and just never ending to-do list.
Yeah, I cannot love this more. I think that you found such a niche market, but it's so broad, right? Like you're
Mhm.
so specific on what we're helping with because it is the mental load. There are so many pieces of life that we're all dealing with. We are all grown-ups with jobs. We have homes, whether we're owning or renting. There is maintenance, there are kids, there is administrative stuff, there's like all of our taxes. Like
Yeah.
life is busy and it's not something that occurred to me, but as you say it, it's of course having someone do the tasks, but needing to tell them all the things and like still keeping your finger on the pulse of it doesn't take it off the mental load. And that's the part that's really draining. I'm curious to know like um, what's the nitty gritty? Like, what does it look like when someone hires you and your staff to help them? Like, do they just give you all the information and then back off and wait for the magic, or like what does that exchange look like?
So every client's different. And because we provide a concierge service, we really strive to meet our clients where they are to make them feel comfortable and to work with them in a way that works for their communication style, their approach, their schedule, all those things. So a typical workflow is when we onboard a client, first I'll meet with them to talk about what their needs are. And most clients will come to us and they'll say, I heard, found out about your service, I need help, and here's 5 things that have been plaguing me. So we'll dig a little bit further into the 5 things and I explain how our service works, etc. When we get to the onboarding call, they get assigned a virtual house manager that's assigned to work with just them and their family. And that way they're able to build that foundation of trust instead of submitting tasks into a portal where just anybody could pick them up, or having them go through an AI bot or go through somebody that maybe doesn't speak the same language or doesn't have the same shared life experience. So that relationship is very important. It's a critical part of the service we provide and our business value. So, in that onboarding call, that's where we start to dig deeper in, because typically a client will come to us with 5 things, but there's actually like 25 things that haven't even made it to the list. And I always say it's like the black cloud that follows you around. That's where a lot of the mental load drain can come from. The weight of that can be the things that you haven't actually put on your to-do list yet because they're just too overwhelming, they're too amorphous, it's something you can't really deal with yet. That's how we end up filing our taxes like the night before they're due, right? And that's how we end up getting blocked out of the summer camps that we want for our kids, because we think, I don't have the time and ability to deal with this now. I'm going to kick it down the road. All of a sudden, the deadline's coming up. Your house manager is able to extract all of those things from your brain and from the cloud following you around, and then chart them out based on when they're due, what the priority is, what information we still need to be able to complete them, and then help manage so that they're keeping all of those projects moving forward and you don't have to worry about the status of them, because you can log into your Asana board, which is what we use to manage our client communication at any given time, and you can see the status of everything and you can change things around and say, hey, actually something else came up and I really need you to deprioritize this and focus on this other thing that happened. So yeah, the relief is definitely immediate because we're able to extract those things from people's headspace, and often that's where the deeper things lie. When we take those things off people's plate, it gives them the breath of fresh air to be able to say, hey, I think actually some systems would be helpful. I think if we had a recurring task every Friday to go over the budget items, that would be really helpful. Or what if we brought my spouse in and we were able to have a conversation, all three of us, the house manager and the 2 partners, and then that kind of levels the playing field. So you're not just relieving your mental load by having somebody manage your projects, you're also having them manage the landscape of what's coming, what's coming down the horizon, bring other people into the fold in kind of a neutral space that we create, which brings more hands in, more players in. And to be able to manage that process as a third party can be an enormous amount of relief.
Hmm. I mean, I'm just sitting here listening to this and my whole body feels more relaxed. You know what I mean?
I
Like
love
it's
it.
just,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
And I like
great.
how you identified that we can bring our partner into the mix, into the conversation, and help bring everybody on board so that we can really truly delegate some of these things that are projects or coming down the line, like whether it be delegating to the house manager or delegating to the partner, sometimes that is a solution as well. But you need to have that open communication, and having a third party sort of navigate that can feel super supportive.
Yes, absolutely. So what we find is that, culturally speaking, there is a tendency for the mental load and the administrative element of running a family, even before you have children, to fall on a woman in a heterosexual relationship. And so studies show that the number of hours spent on domestic duties increase right after marriage in a heterosexual relationship, even before they have children, because there is this expectation that women take on more physical and mental labor at home. And that's the invisible labor because it's something that their partner oftentimes doesn't see and that's not recognized and valued by people in society. So when you ask somebody what they do and they say, "Oh, I'm just a stay-at-home mom," that is that cultural reinforcement that providing a very valuable service doesn't have value because they're not doing it in exchange for money. Whereas if you were to pay a house cleaner or a house manager or a nanny, you would be out, six figures for somebody to do all of those roles, but it's not truly valued by the people that are actually doing it because it's not a line item on their budget. So one of the things that we are very driven by and our mission in this work is to be able to make the invisible labor visible, lift it up and give it a market value. And so I like to think that the impact we have is not just on the clients we serve, where our clients come to us and they say, "I need help with X, Y, and Z. I'm overwhelmed. I need to outsource it. I need you to handle it. And it's worth that amount of money to me." And I'm going to make the case to my partner that it's also worth that amount of money because I've been doing it for free and that's not fair. It's taking a mental, toll on me. It's impeding my ability to enjoy my free time, to accelerate my career, etc. But then also beyond just the service that we provide to our clients and the conversations having in their homes are the conversations of everybody that doesn't work with us that says, "Wait a second, you can get paid to do that? I do that for free." And that was the part of the genesis of this service was I was talking with a friend of mine who had a house manager and she said, "Oh yeah, she just sees when I'm low on toothpaste and buys more." And I was like, "I do that. I buy the toothpaste. When the toothpaste is low, I'm the one who gets it. And I carry that in my brain and I'm doing the anticipating." The first time we ever met with our virtual house manager, my husband and I, she was like, "Okay, what do you want to talk about?" And I had like 30 things that he were nowhere on his radar. And that's part of the invisible load. And so it's been interesting to see that evolution. I have a wonderful partner. He's also a project manager. He's very engaged. He carries lots of mental load. But all the things I'd been carrying around in my brain were so invisible to him. And they were kind of invisible to me, honestly, because they were subconscious. So
Mhm.
our mission by making the invisible visible, lifting it up and giving it a market value is very much a feminist mission because it's saying the work that women have provided for generations is valuable, should be valued. And if you're not going to do it yourself, then you should pay somebody else to do it.
Yeah, 100%. And the problem thus far has been there's no one else available to do it, whether you wanted to pay them or not, unless you are um, in the upper echelons of society, right? This is bringing that very concierge, hands-on, supportive service to the everyday person,
Right,
right?
right. And we make it fractional, we make it accessible, but we still have to recognize that being able to outsource, period, requires having discretionary money, which is not accessible to everybody. So we're very aware of that fact, which is why we offer, a lot of free resources. We have a weekly podcast, we have a weekly blog, and then we also have a lot of the tools that we've developed for our clients. We make them available for sale for $2 to $6 on our Etsy site. So if you can't hire a house manager to be able to figure out what your kids' summer vacation and summer camp plan is, then you could go on our site. You could buy it for $6. And I think you will feel a lot of the benefits of that mental load relief, being able to get it out of your brain and map it all out, have it in one place. So we try to make our services affordable and accessible wherever we can.
I love that. And it's all about reducing the stress and increasing the success that you have in the home, and these systems that you're talking about. Um, they're like, I can almost picture it's like a magic key, like you might have to tweak it for your season or your specific structure, especially if you're getting the really accessible price point at the Etsy store, you don't have that dedicated person, that's fine. You just need to make sure that you're looking at it specifically for you and your household and tweaking it as you need. But you can build these systems in with tools like this that Hannah and her team are providing, because without them, we're kind of just, I don't know, I kind of feel like a duck paddling around the pond, like with no direction. I'm like, I know I need to all the things and they may eventually get done, but I'm super stressed about it.
Yep.
And so I love that you're just making, you have so many different pieces of the business, that are meant to support moms. And it doesn't always have to be the high end or the high ticket thing. Like you can come in and get your feet wet with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, we love to have people in our digital ecosystem at whatever, place they can be. We also have a weekly newsletter with like lots of tips. And I just think these conversations are too important to gatekeep by money. I think it's just too much of a disservice we do by placing a dollar value on everything. And we should be able to have these conversations and build community and provide opportunities for other people to empower themselves around this. And it's been really informative over the past year and a half since I started this business. Like every conversation I have with moms at the park, and my favorite is the conversations with dads, honestly, because they're like, oh, you can just see the light bulb go off where they are starting to connect the dots. And the number of conversations I've had with people where I'm like, hey, you realize that you don't work for your husband, right? Like you have a job, you have your own identity, and you carrying 8 to 10 hours a week on average of extra domestic labor that's uncompensated, unrecognized, and there's no gratitude expressed for, that's like completely unacceptable in my mind. And you can kind of start to see the wheels turn, right?
Hmm. And you do it in such like a practical, loving, positive way that we are expressing that this is a fact, but without being judgy or negative or, nitpicky about it. It's just this is what it is, and there's a solution. And
Yeah,
here it
absolutely.
is, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of people don't realize that there are tools out there to help support that. Sometimes it can feel scary. How do you have that first conversation with your partner, whoever's in your life? So, in a situation where somebody does have a partner, it's obviously different if somebody is a single parent. And then we're talking about how do you bring your children into the fold? How do you bring the important people into your life? Like maybe the help that you do hire if you have a babysitter or nanny, if you have parents, if you have neighbors, like how do you bring them in? How do you create systems? How do you relieve mental load just on your own by creating those systems? But when you're talking about with a partner, then that's something more of a delicate issue, and you have to think about how are you going to approach it in a way that expresses that there is greater value for all if we have these hard conversations. You're going to get a more relaxed, satisfied partner because they're not responsible for a majority of the domestic labor, and you're going to have a better relationship because you don't have that resentment. And there's so many other things that spiral from there by just having those conversations. It can be a little hard at first because sometimes you're challenging the way that your partner was raised or their expectations of gender norms or their expectations of, the way things have been. It's been this way for 10 years. It's worked. Well, hasn't worked for all parties. It's worked for you because you've been benefiting from it. Let's change the conversation. Let's make it more equitable. And what we find is that all people really succeed and flourish when we're changing that dynamic because you've got people that are more invested in the well-being and the success of the family, including the children. And then there's like tons of systems that people can implement that don't cost anything, that don't even involve the hard conversations. Just things like automating whatever you can. It allows you to save your a limited amount of mental energy and capacity for the bigger, more important things like being creative and making decisions. So if you have, let's say, a morning routine that is scheduled very precisely and everybody knows where they need to be and what they need to do. Obviously, things, especially when you have young children, go off the rails. But if you have that schedule and you have that system to rely on, you're not making decisions like, oh, what time is it? What time do we need to leave for school? What are we going to have for lunch today? Like, anytime you're able to automate those kind of processes in your home and create those systems, like, I always make lunch the night before by putting the leftovers in the kids' lunch. Like that kind of simple system that you set up can make your morning that much easier. And it can allow you to be more present and have energy for things that are more important. Because I don't know about you, but like, I don't want to spend my mental energy on all the little minutia that come along with daily life. I'd rather spend it on the big, fun things that are more rewarding.
Totally. Totally. And I like how you're identifying that we're not putting these systems in place for the sake of being able to do more or be more productive. We're putting them in place for the sake of being able to fill up our own cup with some
Yeah.
extra time and space.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, which I mean, especially when you become a parent, can be so challenging. There's this concept that we should be selfless and sacrifice ourselves and our identity to the journey of parenthood. And I think, 2025 is the year to retire that, if not decades before, because you can't be a present person, partner, friend parent if you don't have that sense of well-being, and if you're constantly feeling run down and exhausted because you don't have the support you need, or you're feeling like you're running on empty, that is going to wear down on you very quickly and will be hard for you to show up as your best self. So yes, filling your own cup, figuring out what your own self-care is. For me, it's systems. For me, it's project management software and recurring calendar reminders. But that's what allows me the time to, in the mental headspace, to do more fun things.
Yeah, which is so important. And I love that these conversations are floating to the top of our like collective awareness now, where so many women are realizing like, oh yeah, it's important that I feel good and I feel like satisfied and I have space for me because it benefits all the ripple effect. Like this whole thing is top of mind, at least in my circles, perhaps
Yeah.
because I'm looking for it, but I'm so grateful that these conversations are happening. And I'm just so proud of women like you who are doing the work and creating the resources. You're offering an incredible, incredible service at so many levels and really changing the way that families are run, that women show up, that we experience our lives. So thank you for creating this and for continuing to do the work. It is so important and super powerful.
Thank you. And the same to you. And a quick shout out that you have an episode on our podcast. I think it's episode 31, which is really great, about one of my favorite time management techniques, Eat the Frog. That's a classic. Read the book, highly recommend it. But the podcast is a great way to understand it in 10 minutes or less. So I love what you're doing. I love that you're sharing it, especially for parents, because a lot of times time management can be something that people think only applies to executives or the corporate worlds, but it's really a piece that impacts our entire life, personal and professional.
Yeah, you're so right. Thank you. It's not something that's like sexy, so people don't like seek it out all the time, but it's so important and I nerd out on it so much.
Love it.
Okay, before we wrap, what is one thing that you want to make sure everyone listening hears today?
I want everybody listening to understand that they have the equal right to rest, and that their time is equally valuable to everybody else's in their life. And so when you're considering who should take on a task or a project in the home, ask yourself and your partner, is this equally balanced? Because I too would like to have the mental headspace, the time, and the energy to be able to pursue what's important to me in my life besides just endless to-do lists.
Mhm.
And when you consider that everybody has an equal right to rest and everybody's time is equally valuable, that can be a real game changer for realizing that you can and should, and we will support you in making space for yourself in your own life.
Yes. Thank you. Amen to that. And also, it's super important, just as you were saying that, made me realize like just having the time in the calendar isn't enough because you can't actually decompress and enjoy yourself with your free time if your head is still full of thinking about things for everybody and everything. So, it's holistic, it encompasses everything. Okay. This is so fantastic. Where do people go to learn more, to hire you, to get your stuff? Tell us how you like to connect.
Yeah, so the best place to start is our website, which is heronhousemanagement.com. So it's Heron. And you can learn about our services and our commitment to making the invisible labor visible. We have our blog that's available there, our weekly podcast, De-Stress the Nest, which is all linked from there, as well as available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. Then we have our Etsy store, which is just etsy.com/shop/, Heron House Management, where you can buy our templates at a low cost, $2 to $6 each. And then you can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook with the same handles, Heron House Management. So hope that people will connect and check us out. And yeah, would love to hear anybody's thoughts.
Yeah, we love that. I think if you're listening and you got something from this episode, reach out to Hannah, reach out to me, let us know what resonated. Let us know that you heard about her here on the Girl Like a Mother podcast because we're speaking to you as if like you're listening, but you can't speak back to us unless you reach out. And we really want to continue this conversation and be in it with you. That's not just lip service. That is for real how we feel. I'm speaking for both of us now, Hannah, but I know that this is for you as well. Like it is our mission to really make a difference and make an impact. And that's why we do this work. And so we love when you reach out and chat with us. If this episode was helpful for you, please share it, tag somebody in it, let us know and spread the word because the more people that hear about this, the better community, the better society we get because moms are feeling lighter and happier, and there is more equality, all the things that we talked about today. So that is my little PSA. Please get in touch with us. Please share about this. Yes.
Love
That is
it.
all.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. Thank you. And until next week, keep on growing like a mother.